Synchronized swimmers and giant killer rats? Do they mix? Yo, what's up everybody? Welcome to day 5 here on my Killer Rats week. I am your host Moon616 and thank you once again for joining me. Alright, so for this week, I wanted to, this is one I've always wanted to check out. I've heard really good things about this one. Unlike the majority of the films in the past couple days, I haven't really heard much of, with the exception of Unknown Origin. I hadn't really heard too much about the films. So, like this one, I'd heard a lot of good things about this one. Some people even saying that it's could even be the best killer rat movie of all time. But yeah, and I was even more intrigued by it because this is actually a Canadian-made horror film, killer rat film. So that intrigued me too. And of course, the film in question here is Gnaw, Food of the Gods, Part 2. This is basically a standalone film. It doesn't really have any relationship to the first film, like in plot or anything. So, kind of stands out on its own. That's why I'm just doing this one. But getting into the plot of this one, the film starts out with a college professor, more of a lab professor. He is basically working on like cancer cell research, and what he is doing, he's testing his formulas and stuff on animals. And of course, every day that he goes into work, you got some animal activists that really don't like that shit. And what they do is they eventually break into his lab and just fucking destroy the whole place. They wreck all of his research data. They wreck all of his equipment, shit like that. Meanwhile, you have another lab professor who is working on a growth hormone serum kind of deal. He's trying to work on this vaccine because there's a child that he wants to basically, bring. What had happened is this child had taken these. I guess he had a growth problem, so they injected him with some type of growth hormone that accelerated his growth to fucking insanely huge. He's like a 10-year-old kid that's standing 10 feet tall. So anyways, they're trying to work on a vaccine for it to, turn around the effects of it. So anyways, he's working on this shit. And what he's been doing is he's been testing his growth hormone serum on plants and, shit like that. So what he does is he comes up with this new serum and he tests it on these tomatoes. And within hours, these things are fucking ginormous. But his lab assistant figures that to get the best results that he probably needs to test his serum on animals. So one day he brings in 35 lab rats. Wow, I cannot talk tonight. Lab rats, and so what he does, he injects only one of the rats with this growth hormone serum, and of course takes off for the night. And of course, the animal activists break in there, and they decide that they're gonna, trash his place because now he's testing on animals. And of course, they fail miserably, and what they end up doing is basically just releasing all these rats. They fuck up. This huge cage of rats gets dumped, and one of the people gets totally fucking gnarled apart by this huge rat, because when he left, it was a pretty small rat, and I guess when they broke in hours later, it had grown 20 times the size. So now they are on the hunt for this huge rat, and that just seems to be the least of their problems, because he soon realizes that all the plants and tomatoes and stuff that he was testing on have been eaten by these rats. and he comes to realize that even if they eat these rats that have been injected with, or these plants that have been injected with the serum, they are too going to multiply in size. So now, instead of having one huge rat, they've got fucking 35 monster rats running around this campus, and they start to do, of course, what we're all here watching the movie for. They start, gnarling on human flesh and killing people. So yeah, so that's the plot of the film. It's kind of similar to Rodents, actually, in plot a little bit, with the whole rats in serum thing. But my thoughts on this one. First off, I'll say that the score and the music in this movie is fantastic. It came out in 1989, so it has that like late 80s kind of synth, kind of up-tempoed fucking 80s sound to it. It's pretty cool. The movie starts out really good, really good. It's got some decent gore right in the beginning of the film with one of the students getting his face torn apart. Then it does slow down a little bit in the middle of the film. Just a lot of plot developments and stuff, and just a lot of searching for rats and shit. But then it does. There's one scene in this movie that really redeems itself for the middle of the film. It's basically with a swimming pool full of synchronized swimmers and giant fucking rats attacking. It's fantastic. The acting overall is really good. The atmosphere that they created in this film is actually pretty good. I like a lot of the scenes, like, within, the school, like, in the, I guess you'd call, like, kind of like the boiler room and shit like that. I think those scenes worked really well. Kind of not, like, creepy, but almost comical in a way, but, like, not in a, laugh out loud kind of way. I don't know, the way they filmed it was really good. Another thing I really enjoyed about this is how they made the rats look so big. They used all real rats, obviously, CGI back in 1989, but, just creating, small set pieces and using big rats. But it did work out. It worked out really well. It didn't seem overly cheesy, in my opinion. I thought it worked really well. To the gore. The gore is actually really well. There's one scene in this film with the first professor I was talking about. He gets a hold of, the other guy's growth hormone serum, and he's fucking around with it, and he accidentally, gets some inside his body, and it just annihilates him, basically melts him. But that scene with the, basically melting body is really well done. I did notice one fuck up in the movie, though. I gotta say, it was pretty fucking funny. I even looked it up, and I couldn't find anything on it, but he starts to, like, basically, he starts to pus out, like, out of every orifice in his body. And he's just, he's pussing out. But if you look down in the corner on the left-hand side of the screen, you can actually see the hands holding the pumps of whatever they're pumping through the, the special effects or whatever. I thought that was pretty fucking funny. But as for that little minor blip in the film, overall it's very enjoyable, very enjoyable. Like I said, the middle is a little slower. It's not overly boring or anything, but the end of the movie, with the pool scene is fantastic. But the actual end scene with, I'm not going to say anything about it, but I fucking laugh so hard. Like, it's just, it's trying to be serious, but at the same time, like, there's just absolutely no way that you could possibly take the end of the movie serious, because it's just so ridiculous, man. But, overall, very enjoyable. I really enjoyed this one. Probably not as good as, of Unknown Origin, but I really did enjoy this one. It's probably the second best one I've watched this week so far. If I had to rate this one, I'd probably give it, a solid 7. Good effects, solid story, I guess, and just overall, just very enjoyable. I would recommend this, so if you like killer rat movies, definitely check this one out. So yeah, I think that's all I got to say about that one. I think I pretty much covered everything. There's not really a whole lot to say. It's, it's fucking killer rats movies, right? So... Gnaw, Food of the Gods Part 2, I do recommend it. It was pretty entertaining. So for day 5 here on Killer Rats Week, I am your host, Moon616. Once again, thank you for joining me and sticking around for the whole review. Leave comments if you've seen it, because I imagine some people have actually seen this one, unlike some of the other films this week. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on this one. I'd always like to hear them. So yeah, peace out, homies.